So I'm going to have a rant on the Sookie and Eric pairing. And I'm just going to start out by saying I am a fan of True Blood. Well, I'd consider myself a fan. I'm not really, crazy on seasons 3, 4 and 5. Definitely not seasons 3 and 4. This season I'm enjoying it, but I find that because Sookie and Eric kind of haven't had any real screen time together, and in this sort of aftermath of their fling last season when Eric had amnesia, I feel that I like them better when they're apart. It kind of furthers my opinion that I do not think they're good together. And people say, "Oh, why don't you think they're good together? It's so strange that you dislike the pairing." When people say that to me, usually it's True Blood fans who hate things like Twilight. And I say Twilight because it's such like an easy thing to hate on. It's like it's always the victim sort of thing in amongst fandoms, if you can use that metaphor. And people hate on Twilight because they say it's vacuous, it's the relationship between Bella and Edward is sort of like empty, it's all based on how they're physically attracted to one another and they have nothing in common. And I feel that it's kind of mirrored in True Blood. I really do see between Eric and Sookie. Honestly, I don't think their relationship is any better between Bella and Edward's relationship. It's certainly not as psychologically dependent and toxic as Bella and Edward's relationship, but I think Edward being manipulative, I think that Eric's also manipulative too. I think obviously being a vampire and being a sheriff, being so like politically influential, he does know how to play the game sort of thing. So I understand why he's a clever character, I understand why he manipulates and he's very snake-like. But I don't, just because he's good looking and just because he's kind of like a badass Viking or whatever, I don't think that excuses him from the way he behaves sometimes. I was a really big fangirl of Eric in seasons 2 and 3 and at the end of season 1. Season 4, beginning of season 4 I was a fangirl, but obviously then he was amnesiaed. And throughout season 4 I kind of lost my sort of obsession with him. It was never an obsession to begin with, but it was like I was a really big fan of his character. And having seen a different side of him, which is completely fine, it was just that when he kind of transformed back into his normal self, I started noticing all these changes, and I think the way that he treated other people for Sookie was really unacceptable and was just really damaging. So I kind of don't support that aspect of the relationship, that it's when they're together it's all about those two and like nothing else matters sort of thing. I just don't think that's normal, and I don't think it's a good message to promote, and I don't think it's something that anybody should be celebrating. People who hate Eric, people who love Eric, people who hate Sookie, people who love Sookie, I don't think it's anything to celebrate the fact that they kind of have a relationship that is kind of empty. They don't really have anything in common, they don't do anything. And I have to say that I feel there's a big difference between the book characters and the TV characters. Book Sookie, if you listen to my review of Deadlocked, which is book number 12 in the Sookie Stackhouse / Southern Vampire Mysteries / True Blood novels, you'll see that I really hate Book Sookie. I've hated her since perhaps book 10 to book 11, and certainly in book 12 I thought she was horrible. I just think she's a bully. She picks on people, she's really self-righteous, she has such a stinking attitude, it's really bad. In the TV show, I think I was a bit biased because having read the books, I could kind of I used to sort of copy and paste that sort of silhouette of Book Sookie and put it onto Anna Paquin. But I realised that Anna Paquin's rendition of Sookie is much softer, it is much more tolerable. And then of course you have Eric in the books. In the books he just becomes a total pussy, he just backs out, he doesn't talk about anything, he just sort of whimpers and cowers beneath the table as you know, his life screws him over and oh, woe is he and stuff like that. He just turns into a complete emo in the books. And in the TV show, he kind of does the same, I feel. And just see them together, like, in their own right, like, objectively, I think Sookie is a good, strong female character. Yeah, she can be a bitch a lot of the time. Yeah, she does say things that are really kind of out of line, and she should think before she speaks and stuff like that. And yeah, I do think Eric is really overbearing, but I think these things make for great characters overall. I think when they get together, they just don't complement one another. And it doesn't mean to say that one of them has to back down while the other is assertive, or one of them has to be submissive while the other is dominant. I think it's good to have two characters that clash, but they never sort of, it's not the sort of pairing where they challenge each other intellectually, and it isn't in the books. In the books, because I get so frustrated with the fact that they never do anything apart from just have sex, then I get frustrated because it happens in the show as well. I mean, the show obviously is M-rated, it's R18, whatever. It's got very adult content, and it always has done. And while I understand that it's all about eye candy, it's all about seeing these characters get together because it's hot and it's what the viewers want. Sorry, I just got a text. I don't think it's right at the expense of the characters' developments. But I just feel, part of me feels that that the writers of the show don't really care about character development. All they really care about is getting views, especially with Eric and Sookie, because they know it's like it's the bait sort of thing that reels people in. And because it is the sort of bait that reels people in, they sort of give people what they want to keep them coming back for more. And I think that's why they insert character development in smaller, less important plot lines. But yeah, I forgot what I was saying. The fact that there's just no, I don't feel that they don't challenge, like I said, they don't challenge each other intellectually. They don't talk about their feelings with each other. They never discuss anything other than work-related issues, and even that's completely, you know, dwindled. I mean, I can't really remember what happened in season 4 apart from the whole, you know, witch plot. But I know that Sookie kind of got caught, and then season 5 she's had like one scene with Eric, and it just seems that they get together, they kind of give each other the eye, and then it's sort of like angst and stuff like that. But to me, it's not interesting. There's nothing there. The reason that I ship Eric and Godric and, you know, Khal Drogo and Daenerys Targaryen and Virgil and Dante and Brittany and Santana, the reasons why these are some of my favourite pairings, and then Pam and Tara, is because I feel that they kind of feed off one another, and they give each other, they put something into the relationship, and therefore they get something out of it. With this, they have nothing in common. Eric and Sookie have nothing in common. They have no shared interests. They don't even talk about interests. They don't talk about movies, they don't talk about music, they don't talk about books, they don't talk about politics, they don't talk about anything apart from work. And then whenever they do talk, which is rarely these days, it's always like Sookie bitching at Eric, or Eric being condescending, patronising. And I'm just thinking, you know, it's cool if you support these characters, but just don't be so shocked and offended when other people actually see through how transparent they are. Because when they're together, they become so transparent, it's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, seeing Eric naked doesn't really do anything for me. Yeah, he's got a nice body, he's a very good looking guy, he's a very beautiful guy, but I'm just not kind of tantalised by him anymore. I just feel that he's grown stale, that he's been completely pussified by Sookie. I just feel that he's so much more alluring in seasons 1 and 2. And ever since he started having these dreams about Sookie, obviously they kind of exchanged blood and stuff like that in season 2. I just feel that he is just that her just being kind of turned into like this thing that kind of this thing that is glorified through Sookie, and because a lot of the show, a lot of the like a large population of the audience is female, because Sookie's a main character, they kind of get to fantasize about being with Eric through her, like because they put themselves in her shoes. And while that's completely fine, it is wish fulfillment. I just feel that on an emotional level, there is nothing there. Like, when you look at it from the outside, the writers say, oh yeah, they're in love, or they have secret feelings for one another. But I really just don't buy it. I just don't think it's a captivating relationship. I don't feel that there's anything substantial between them. They have nothing to say to one another, really, apart from just to bitch at each other and stuff like that. And if bitching at each other is supposedly sexual tension, then I'm really not feeling it. I mean, you don't have these like amazing moments together where they really have each other's back and where they kind of go through all this like emotional turmoil together. They don't have that. They literally get together, they have sex, it looks nice, and then they lie in bed and talk just about silly things. And I just think it's really unhealthy that some people in the True Blood fandom, aka a lot of people on Tumblr, don't understand that a relationship should be based on infatuation. There's a difference between love, being in love, and being infatuated. And I think Eric's infatuated by Sookie. I mean, there's no reason why he would be in love with her. There's no reason why she would be in love with him. The whole amnesia thing was complete bullshit. I think she just completely victimized him. She made him feel like crap. She was like, oh yeah, you're a bad person. Of course, yeah, he did do really bad things. But if you loved him so much, then why would you tell him all the time, yeah, you were just a horrible person? That's not love to me. That's kind of, horrible. And if he really loved her, then he wouldn't, go off so much and just do all these, really nasty things. I don't buy it. I just think it's an excuse to have some sort of sexual tension between two physically attractive characters on screen. I think they should focus and dedicate more time to other pairings, like Pam and Tara. I think Pam and Tara is a wonderful relationship. Even though I disagree with the way Pam treats people sometimes, I think they work together, they feed off one another really, really well. And yeah, it just shocks me that some people on Tumblr don't realise just how similar Sookie and Eric's relationship is to Bella and Edward's. They have nothing to talk about. They see each other, it's physical attraction. Granted, Edward and Bella don't have sex until they're married. But I don't know. I think Pam was absolutely right when she said, oh, he's just all infatuated with Sookie and her fairy vagina. I really cannot fathom why he'd be interested in her. I mean, the way he treats her is he just patronises her so much, and he treats her like a little girl. Like, why would you be in love with someone like that? It's sort of like infantilization. It's kind of weird. It's not uncomfortable, but I really don't dig it. And honestly, I feel that as much as I dislike Bill, I disliked him in seasons 1, 2, 3 and this season, but having seen the way him and Sookie are kind of on a more personal sort of level, where they kind of talk about their feelings together, about their past and stuff like that, whereas Sookie and Eric don't. I feel that Bill, if she had to be with someone, and honestly I'd rather she just be by herself, because I don't think she needs the trouble of anybody else. I just think that Bill and Sookie kind of get each other more than Sookie and Eric will ever get each other. And I really don't want to be the brunt of all this hatred towards me, because I just happen to really dislike the Sookie and Eric pairing. I don't think it's good, it's not attractive, it's not compelling, it's not anything to me, it's just boring. It's just two characters who just got too many problems, too many individual problems, and really, honestly, I just don't think they should be together until they kind of grow up. But yeah, thanks for listening, and goodbye.